here. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. I'm looking for the right verbiage, but that the states have, the bottom line is the states have until December 8th to go through all the problems they have, like lawsuits or whatever they want to do, recounting and counting. They have to go December 8th to decide what their popular vote says. At that point, that's when they can determine with that the number of electors. Then the next step is the electors meet on December 14th. That's when the electors meet. So no votes have been cast for president just yet. No matter how many millions of people who think otherwise, the true votes that are going to be cast won't be cast until December 14th. And those votes won't be known until January 6th, when they're opened in front of a full session of Congress. That's when we'll really know who the president is. But in the meantime, all the squabbling and everything, Donald Trump, okay, if you haven't heard within the last hour, the latest state, Michigan, has now determined their electoral votes, apparently in their early results, suggest their electoral votes go toward Biden. Or should I say Harris? What we're looking at here is if Biden wins, we're probably going to have Harris as the president. You realize that, don't you, folks? A sobering thought? Well, that's what the probability is pretty high of that happening, folks. Not only potentially Joe Biden's mental state has been thrown into question for pretty good reasons when you look at some of the things he's slipped up on. Now, we all slip up. I slip up too. But some of the things he did and where his handlers basically pull him off with, come on backstage for a minute, but Joe, pull him off stage or pull him out of the crowd, try to get his thoughts together. So there may be a mental state issue developing with Mr. Joe Biden. And then, of course, he's, going to be 80 years old on Inauguration Day, I think is what it is. And, it's coming up in age. It's a very stressful job, too, So maybe he's just going to be more than just a puppet. Maybe he'll be a propped-up puppet. One a ventriloquist-type puppet. But anyway, it's so far, okay, because today, the latest in the last few hours, Wisconsin has gone towards Biden, and Michigan now, within the last hour, they've announced, has gone towards Biden. The electoral votes should. Now, that's assuming the electors vote who they are supposed to vote for. It doesn't have to happen that way, because there's something called a faithless elector. And we've had 165 instances of faithless electors in American history, and 10 in the last election. 10 faithless electors in 2016 presidential election. So the electors, though, they're supposed to vote for whom the states have determined their electoral votes go for. But it doesn't always happen that way. But it's looking at this point in time, even though we don't know the results for sure. This is at 7:13 p.m. on Wednesday, the 4th, if you're listening live. Then it's looking like Joe Biden is going to be the next El Presidente. And Donald Trump, of course, is going to be a sore loser. It sounds like he's already filed some lawsuits. And he's been whining and complaining for many, many months now about an unfair election or election as rigged. But if you recall, 4 years ago, even when Donald Trump won, he was whining and complaining about an unfair election. You remember that? I remember that. He's not only a sore loser, he was a sore winner too. He couldn't fathom the fact that Hillary got more votes than him, even though he won in the Electoral College. He couldn't fathom the fact, it must have been election fraud for Hillary to have gotten more votes than him. So he was even whining when he was a winner. So it's no surprise that he's going to whine now. That looks like he may be a loser. We don't know yet. We don't know for sure yet, and we won't know until January 8th. But everybody, the American people, once they announce this here in the next day or two, who they say the press will say is the winner, we won't know until January 6th. So hold your horses. It looks like it's going to be fairly close. The only way apparently Donald Trump can win now is if the remaining states, all of the remaining states that have not tabulated their votes yet, to find out who the electors are going to be assigned to. It looks like he has to win every single state left in order to win the presidency, is what it looks like, from what I've been hearing. Joe Biden, I think, is only 6 electoral votes away from the projected electoral votes, we should say, from winning the presidency. Projected, yeah, because the electors haven't voted yet. Now, there's something that happened. This has happened in American history before. If, for instance, and I mentioned Joe Biden's age or his health or something, if something happens between now and December 14th, there might be a lot of electors that change their votes. You see, that has happened once in American history. And that would be, let me see. Let me find out what date that was. What year it was. Before any of us were born. This is faithless electors. 71 electors changed their votes because of the candidate to whom they were pledged to died before the electoral ballot. That was 2 different years, actually. 71 combined was in 1872 and 1912. Okay, there may be somebody listening to me that was born, that was still alive in 1912, but you don't remember it if you were born then. So 71 electors changed their votes because the candidate died before the electors voted. So for what I'm saying is, if something happens between Joe Biden or something else happens, it doesn't necessarily have to be he died, the electors decide to change their votes, they can do that. The Electoral College system, and like it or not, this is in the Constitution, this is the 12th Amendment. Nowhere in there does it say that the popular vote selects the president. It says very clearly, within the first dozen words or so, that the electors select the president. No other way does the president get elected, no matter how much BS NBC whines about it. So we have to wait until the electors vote, and then we have to wait until January 6th to hear the results. So if something were to happen between now and the next month and a half, till December 14th, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then something more drastic could still happen. Could. Not likely to. And usually, other than those 2 particular elections, the only times it's happened in our history is those 2 particular elections. And if I could find the names of them here, I got a big article here, so I won't be able to find them very quickly. Who died before the pledge for the electors was placed. There is a complete listing on Wikipedia, a summary of it. Let's see, 1872, Horace Greeley. In 1872, the Liberal Republican Democrat nominee died on November 29th, shortly before the Electoral College vote in December. 3 electors voted for the deceased Greeley as pledged, while the other 63 electors pledged to Greeley voted for other persons, with 18 of them casting their presidential votes for Greeley's running mate, Benjamin Gratz Brown. And the remaining 45 scattered their presidential votes among the 3 non-candidates. The 3 posthumous presidential votes cast for Greeley were rejected by Congress. So you can't both, the Congress will reject your votes if you vote for a dead man. In 1812, and I'd have to go, who was it in 1872? Anybody know off the top of their head? I'd have to go back and look who won the election in 1872. Then, and let me see, I'm looking for now 1912 is what I'm looking for. Yeah, see, 1912 was the other one. Trying to find it here, folks. Sorry. Okay, 1912 election. The Republican vice presidential candidate, James S. Sherman, died 6 days before the popular election. Republicans had won only 2 states, Utah and Vermont, and Nicholas M. Butler was hastily designated to receive the 8 electoral votes that were pledged to Sherman. All 8 Republican electors accordingly voted for Butler for vice president. 1912. Would that be Wilson? Who would that be? What was the election results where the election was at? I don't know. I don't have that information from me. Anybody want to join in the conversation on any of this? Maybe you've heard enough about the election. It's like our system of government, even though people don't like it. It's like, well, thank you for your opinion. Now we'll go vote in December. Yeah.
I'm just going to step up here. I was watching some of this, the numbers when they started out yesterday, and I loved how it started out with, 0% on the numbers, but Biden was already being granted the victory in some of the states. Yeah,
well, I think
it's cute with the way their polling thing said the way it was going to be. In a lot of those states that they had pre-claimed before the voting was done had actually flipped to Trump.
Yeah, I think both Wisconsin and Michigan were flipping. I think Trump won them last time, and now Biden won them narrowly this time, apparently.
Not by much.
Right. Well,
to be honest, I find it really hard to believe that any of the Michiganders, with the way the Democrats have been treating Michigan, voted Democrat. I mean, not talking about our people, but I'm just saying, the sheeple that are out there who have had to deal with the forced shutdown the way that they did it, the special interests that were given privilege over the regular Michiganders by the Democratic Party. And of course, it's interesting, we still have the vote tally and everything going on for the president, but we supposedly know in some of these states where they haven't finished counting the vote who the House or Senate members are already. Like, that number's magically done, like nobody voted for them also at the same time they were voting for the president. It just seems kind of weird, but hey.
Yeah, from what I heard on the radio a few hours ago, it's looking like the Senate is going to be still favored Republican, whereas the House is going to be favored Democrat. From what I thought I've heard, I don't know if those are final numbers or not. Less attention is paid to that. In fact, I tried to look up propositions all over the country that were passed, because I've been hearing a few things, bits and pieces of things that have passed around the country, and I wanted to see a summary of all of them, and I wanted to go over some of the stranger ones, the propositions that passed, and I just couldn't find something assembled together. I kept seeing things about California and Texas and individual states, so I wanted to see a summary of all the states, and I wasn't able to find that easily.
CNN. Go to CNN.com, election 2020 results. That's what I'm looking at right now. Interesting thing where we're talking about the Electoral College, there's only one state I see them doing this with, and that's Nebraska, where they're showing Trump has 4 electoral votes and Biden has 1. But they're saying it's a Trump 1 state, but they're still showing that Biden has that 1 electoral vote in Nebraska. They're not doing that with any of the other states so far. Yeah, that's the only one they're showing that has a pin like that on it.
Huh. That's interesting. I wasn't sure. Maybe the states wouldn't be able to set their own rules on that, because it's a federal election. States have no jurisdiction in order to split those, I don't think. Now, the electors can split them on their own. I'm not sure the states can. But anyway.
It's an interesting thing on their site. It is the only state that is marked that way with a little pin push and has the electors separated by what party affiliation they're with.
No, I've been hearing things on the radio about Texas. Texas is, from what I'm hearing now, and I'm just going off of what I heard on the radio. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And maybe you don't know it. Texas was largely Republican, but it's beginning to shift towards Democrat. You know anything about that?
It says 43% went towards Biden, 52% went towards Trump. Up where I am, I'm telling you, I did not see one Pence, or not Pence, but oh, come on. One Biden. Sorry, yeah, I know. I should know it's Biden, but Pence would have seemed like probably a little more lively if he was up there.
But I mean, what I'm hearing is overall the state. I don't just mean this election. The state is starting to go more and more Democrat. I've
you've got, I talk about Anthony Brian Logan. He's got a good say for it's a good example of what's going on right now with the states that have flipped blue, where the Democrats seem to be more entrenched in some areas. He's calling it the California flu, and I think that's very apropos, because what it is, it's all these people who can't stand to live in California anymore. They've been taxed out of the area. It's become so liberal that they can't deal with it. They're bringing their liberalism out into the rest of the country. You can literally see this spread into Nevada, into Arizona, New Mexico, here in Texas. Utah has some, but Utah didn't flip. It's the swamp creatures evacuating the swamp with all the fires and everything that's been going on.
Yeah, California, and they're always ones that you more. I don't know if the word is progressive or stupid, but they're the ones sometimes that have things that are going on with the propositions. Proposition 22, Proposition 15, Proposition 16, and I'm just reading the numbers off. Proposition 23, Proposition 25, 20, 14.
An interesting proposition that went over everybody's head, and I think a lot of people missed it. I don't know what the bill is, but I know it passed because I've heard a few people talk about it. In the state of Oregon, everything is legal now. Not just marijuana. You can do cocaine, you can do crack, you can do whatever you want in that state right now. It's a junkie.
Yeah, I heard that too, but small quantities. They specify small quantities.
It's a junkie's paradise. They can go there, get high, and not get busted. Move to the state of Oregon.
I did hear that. Now, in that venue, there were also 2 states that passed marijuana laws. What states were those? Anybody know? Because I heard it, but I didn't hear the states.
I heard it.
Was one Arizona?
I'll look it up because I know Craig is going to... Not Craig. You're Craig. Randy's going to want to cover it on the medical marijuana hour, and if he doesn't have it, I'll have that ready for him.
Craig, this is Fluffy. They passed marijuana law here in Mississippi. I think recreational marijuana is now legal.
Where? Mississippi?
Correct.
So Mississippi, and I thought I heard it was Arizona also. There are 2 states. Okay, so that's just part of it then. Sorry folks, I'm making a little bit of noise here. I got to move the place where I'm at, saying you can't stay here. So I got to move somewhere here. We'll just go across the street. I heard that about Oregon too, and they kind of glossed over it. But yeah, that's pretty strange. In an attempt to legalize various types of drugs, they go after the other states as well.
It's very interesting. That would actually count it into a flip for the marijuana laws, which we've got people that have been following that with the medical marijuana, the recreational marijuana usage, who use it for post-traumatic stress disorder with the VA here on the station, Craig. And it's been creeping to the point where the fed will be forced to adopt it as a law of the land because it will be legalized in so many states. I'd have to take a look to see how close we are to that flip. I don't remember what the exact number is. We've talked about it before on the air so many times, I should know it, but it's not there on the tip of my brain right now. But we've got a lot of states now where at least the medical marijuana is, where it's been legalized. And then you have the recreational marijuana where only some states have adopted that and others haven't. So it's interesting. It can get you into a world of trouble if you're traveling from a state that's legal to a state that's not, and you forget you got something in your car. But
I don't know the latest numbers, and I haven't done the research on this, but I think about half the states now are recreational legal, aren't they?
I don't think it's quite half, but I could be wrong. Like I said, Randy
at some point
does a medical marijuana hour. He would probably know.
At some point, the federal government is going to have to do something if they want to keep with their the national law about marijuana.
Well, Trump had an interesting policy of let the states decide it and told the DEA to more or less back off, leave them alone, it's in the states' hands. Biden has publicly come out and said that it's against federal law, so Biden gets in there. Even though we've seen these things pass in the states, Biden gets in with how police state heavy he has been in the past. I cannot believe that he would not attack all those states that have legalized marijuana for recreation or medical use, because it's still a Schedule I drug according to the Fed. It's a system that they can attack to do a quick turnaround to show, look at all the money that we've made, through the forfeiture, the seizure and forfeiture laws. We attack everybody who's doing the legal in their state but illegal federal wise, and get all their land and property through the Forfeiture Act, and that's a big chunk of change that you can help turn around the economy.
I'd like to see how they're going to do this, since Biden is for defunding the police.
Again, that's a fallacy. Biden has never been for defund the police. Kamala Harris might push that, but if you look at his track record, okay, the crime bill, who's one of the authors of the crime bill? It was Joe Biden. You look at what he's done across the board, even when he was VP under President Obama. A lot of the policies that Obama was enforcing were actually Joe Biden's policies before they teamed up. So
you are correct. I am sorry.
It's going to be very interesting if he does win the White House. You're going to see a whole lot of interesting things that could take place, depending on if he continues on with the attitude that he has had in the past, or even if he goes towards the crazy town, defund the police, and let the rioters do whatever they want.
He is for defunding the police, but yes, I just looked it up, and he's always been pro-police state. I'm out, Eddie. Thanks.
And Craig, are you situated?
Yeah. Thanks everybody for participating, because I really didn't. I tried looking some things up, and I just got lost. I couldn't find the basics that I wanted to find, so I don't really have anything from you. Now I don't have internet either because I had to move. So. The propositions is what I wanted to look up, to find out all those strange propositions around the country, state by state, to find out which weird things passed. Because you really only hear about your local ones. Usually if you're listening to the radio or TV or whatever, you don't hear about nationally. Although, I mean, there are a few, like the Uber Lyft thing in California, that they've been talking about that. There's just a few around the country they've actually talked about, and I really wanted to see a listing of all the ones the more interesting ones, because some of them got to be kind of crazy, I would think. So let me think here. I'll have to come up with if people want to call, you're welcome to call in. Everybody want to call in and just have a general discussion. We can. Otherwise, I'll have to think of something to say, because I have quite a bit more time here on my show, and I'm not really prepared for it. So I started looking things up, and I just couldn't find. If I start in a wrong direction when I start researching for the show, before I usually try about at least a half an hour before the show, start looking some things up. I try to get some ideas in my head before then, and then I start looking some things up. But then if I get on the wrong track and I don't find the things I want, then I end up with nothing. And that's kind of what I ended up with tonight. You're welcome to call in. Anybody want to call in, please call in. And I don't know if I talked about this last weekend. I didn't do a show. I haven't done a show since Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And in Indianapolis, may have talked about this, maybe not. Well, an interesting thing happened at that show, which us vendors have never seen to this degree. At the end of the show, when you have a gun show, at least in Indiana, every state's a little different, but most of them have a background check that can be done by computer if they're buying a gun. Most all gun shows I've been to, I've seen that where they have a state website to go to of some kind, all the dealers, the FFL, and they can go and they can look up your background or see if you qualify for buying whatever type of gun you're trying to buy. And whether or not you can walk away with it or not, it depends on the state as well. But in Indiana, they have a background check system through the state of Indiana by computer. They do it by Wi-Fi right at the show. And there was, at the end of the show, there were 40 people, roughly. I'm just, based on, I took a picture too, because I couldn't believe it. there are about 40 people still waiting at the end of the show. After the show closes, the promoter of the show allows the customer to stay at that table to finish their business after we're closed. Security usually just comes nearby and makes sure those people, when they get done, that they leave the building instead of walking around. And in this time, there was about 40 people that still had not completed their transaction to buy a gun. Now, this was on a Friday. Friday is usually a fairly slow day. I was just in Indianapolis. The first day of the show, Friday, is usually a fairly slow day. Saturday is the big day, and then Sunday is also a fairly slower day. When it's a 3-day show, Friday is also a slow day. So there were about 40 people waiting for the background checks, and then I stuck around for a while just to, couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it. None of the vendors had seen it. We usually do see one or two at the end of the show still waiting to complete a transaction. We see that all the time, but we've never seen that many. And the best we could come up with talking to other vendors and such is probably because this is like a last show before the election, or wasn't the last show, but it was close to the last show as far as, certainly in that area in Indiana. People were probably scared about what's going to happen, and probably we determined it's probably a lot of liberals, maybe people that never been to a gun show and buying a gun because they're scared about right-wing whatever, violence and trouble, and that's what we're going to see now. If they announce that Trump lost here in the next day or two, are we going to start seeing trouble, or what? Are we going to see the same type of whining that we did 4 years ago? Because literally we had whiners and criers and complainers about losing their great Hillary lost the election. I remember there's a video, and you can still see it to this day. I did look it up here a couple weeks ago on YouTube called "Save the Snowflakes." It's a really funny video if you want to see it.
What I'm going to be interested in, Craig, is if we see with all this stuff with Hunter Biden, these dealings that they had over in Russia, are we going to have hearings and constant call for impeachment because of his behavior? Joe Biden's behavior towards the minorities while he was on the campaign trail, comparing one to the other and saying one was smarter than the other. Are we going to hear stuff about that being drudged up to impeach him until the end of his 4th year? I mean, they're sitting there saying we better have a peaceful transfer of power, and everybody just better hug and hold hands. They didn't do that for Trump.
And what about what's going to be our national stance towards Russia now? It obviously was very different with Trump, and that or North Korea. North Korea, what's going to happen there? So there's going to be some changes, and China. Those are 3 countries that Trump was, whether you agreed with his policies or not, things were greatly changed with those 3 countries right off the top of my head. Russia, China, and North Korea. So now that's going to change. And if you recall, 4 years ago, as soon as Donald Trump got into office, one after another, he started undoing a lot of what Obama did. So is Biden going to do the same? Is he going to start undoing a lot of what Trump did by executive order? That's what we saw 4 years ago. If you recall, for the first 6 months, he was signing away half of Obama's presidency.
But they were fighting him every step of the way, and a lot of them they overturned, or they just didn't follow the orders of the president, which, they claim he was a commander-in-chief and that there was like I just said, a peaceful transfer of power. I hope the Republicans that get in there learned from the Democrats on how to do this stuff. I mean, because if we don't see it, then which side are those, if you believe in the 2-party system that's out there, which side are those Republicans that are sitting in those benches now or on those seats? Which side are they really with?
Another thing that comes to mind, too, that's going to possibly, if Biden really is serious about, and, well, of course, it was just talk anyway. Of course, with the Democrats, we wouldn't have had anywhere near 100,000 deaths, right? That's the contention. Somehow the virus ignores us if we have Democrats in office. That was essentially the contention. One of the statements he made many months ago, which I'm surprised that Donald Trump didn't jump on during the debates or anything else. At one point, Biden made the statement about locking down the whole country for months. Does anybody remember that or what?
that's still one of his policies. He already has up his transition website to claim power. Okay, that's something that they announced earlier tonight. Biden's already treating this like he's won. He has a transition website up in place. It has his policies there. Guys, go read them.
And what was the mask mandate? There was a mask mandate in the lockdown, wasn't there? Do you know, Ed?
If COVID continues on the way it is, he's going to do what's necessary and do a forced lockdown of the entire nation. You will not be allowed to leave your homes without a mask. It doesn't matter if you're traveling.
I think I recall that wearing a mask all the time, not just anytime you're away from home, not just when you're in a store or whatever. That's what I recall.
Well, here where I am in Lubbock, Texas, Craig, where we've got the reinsurgence of the surge of COVID, which just happened to coincide with the election. You know, did everybody realize this window when it started was just like a few days before the election, like between Tuesday and Wednesday, we had this. Oh, look, we went from having a regular of like 20 to 23 cases a day reported to all of a sudden overnight here where I'm at in rural Texas, our rural community suddenly had over 600 cases overnight show up. And who did the government, the state, and the Fed blame for that? It wasn't the grocery stores. It wasn't the restaurants. It was your family gatherings. They want to limit how many people you can have in your home at a family gathering, whether it be Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. They want less than 10 people there, and if you are there with any number of people in your own home, you need to wear masks around them. That's on the CDC's website. Go ahead.
You mentioned Christmas. Here's a little funny thing I read about Christmas this year. Macy's, the department store Macy's, now it's going to be no more Santa's lap. You're going to have an interactive, what do you call it, a Zoom Santa or whatever, a Santa on the internet, so a virtual Santa. That's going to go really helpful to convince kids that Santa still exists. But kind of off topic, but yeah, so a lot of department stores now are not going to have Santas anymore. So there's another change to our society, at least here. This year is going to be different. Trick or treat. I happened to be in a city at the time that night last, what was it, Saturday evening. I saw no trick or treaters. Most of the people.
I actually had trick or treaters show up at my door. Sadly, I had nothing to give them, but I did see trick or treaters here in Lubbock, where I am.
I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was in a neighborhood that was conducive to trick-or-treaters, I thought, but about half the porch lights were off, so like nobody was inviting them if you don't have your porch light off. And then I didn't see any trick-or-treaters. I was out there for about 10 minutes just kind of walking around the street a little bit. There were a few people that had tables set out in front of their driveway with candy on it, so you walk by and pick it up. You don't have to go and knock on the door or anything. But there was no participation, not only from the children, but also the adults at the homes. Hardly anything was happening. It was very strange to see that. I'm not sure what else during Christmas time we're going to see that's going to be different, or Thanksgiving. Are they going to? Is Biden going to eliminate family gatherings of more than 10 people? Something of that nature. So you can't have a big Thanksgiving dinner with the family.
I was saying, he's constantly pushing what Fauci and the CDC are telling him is the gospel truth. And if you go over to the CDC's website right now, they're talking. There's a line. I don't know if it's still there because we brought attention to it, and I sent a lot of people in that direction. There is a line that for Thanksgiving, if you have a collection of 10 or more people in your family in your home, and one of them is acting strange, and is not acting right, and they seem like they're being squirrely, you need to force them to wear a mask. Force them to wear a mask or ask them to leave. That was actually on that was on the CDC's website for guidelines for Thanksgiving.
Did they actually use the word squirrely? Is that a medical term?
Seriously, it was up there. If they were acting weird, squirrely, if they didn't seem right. Not like if they were showing symptoms. It's if they were acting like they were uncomfortable.
Well, a lot of people are uncomfortable with their family gatherings. Oh, okay. Well, it's been an interesting election. It's not over yet, of course. They'll announce in the next day or two, probably, who they say is winning. But then we'll find out who wins January 6th. That's when we'll really find out who wins. But usually, that's unless somebody dies or something, that's probably going to be the case. Whoever they announce here in the next day or two, more than likely. And unless Donald Trump wins every single state left, it looks like they're going to announce that it's going to go towards Biden. So Biden's going to be, or Harris, which is it? That's something I don't think people paid much attention to.
Well, they're saying,
possibility.
Hang on, I'll give you a quick update here. Probably, I doubt much has changed the last time I looked. Let's see, Biden has 253 electoral votes according to CNN. You need 270 to win according to them. Trump has 213. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia are left still supposedly counting the votes, but they all are right now in favor of Trump. On the East Coast, on the West Coast, you got Arizona, which hasn't finished yet. They're saying 51 of the vote is for Biden, 47.6 of the vote is for Trump. And Nevada, it's close, barely a percent apart. Actually, I don't even think a full percent apart, because they're saying it's 49.3% for Biden and 48.7% for Trump. That's probably going to be contested, or they're going to want to recount there. And the other one that hasn't been picked up yet is Alaska, with its mighty 3 electoral votes, which is 62% right now for Donald Trump and only 30% for Biden.
Yeah, so unless he wins all of them, Biden only has to win 7 more electoral votes.
If
right?
he wins North Carolina, which it looks like he's going to, that's 15 electoral votes. That will bring him
put him over the edge.
closer. Pennsylvania, which it looks like he's winning, that's 20 electoral votes. That's right there is 35. That would almost catch him up to where Biden is right now. Georgia is another 16 votes. So if he gets those 3, it's going to be pretty neck and neck, and it'll probably come down to Arizona or Nevada. But Nevada only has 6, and Arizona has 11. Alaska has 3. You know, it's based on population. I mean, seriously, you look at it, and you can understand why people say that, California should be cut in half with 55 electoral votes.
Yeah. Well, there was actually talk about it cutting more than half. I think there was a proposal at one point for 4 different states in of the existing California at one point. But
the northern section of California and the southern part of Oregon, the state of Jefferson. There's been a push for the northern part of California and the southern part of Oregon to come together to create the state of Jefferson. And that's been an ongoing thing since, I think, back into the 90s, and they're still talking about it now. Of course, there's also Hawaii, which has gone completely Democrat, and that was another one that was interesting. That one had 0% yesterday before they even started the tally. That was one of the ones that they had marked as, it's going to Biden. Before they had any numbers, it was already they had already awarded it to Biden on a lot of these polls. So that's cute. Anyway,
and there's some 2 or 3 hours even farther in the time zones than California, than Pacific time. So by the time it's midday there right now, but basically,
well, it is
that's something that always.
It only has 4 electoral votes, but it still has electoral votes.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting. Essentially, we're gonna have another 4 years of Obama, or this will be your Hillary imitation. What we'll have coming up. Either way.
Say Hillary. It would be like getting AOC as president if Biden gets in there. Because he's not going to be making any of the decisions. And Kamala Harris, you take a look at her policies, that Green New Deal push that they've got going on, she's in Cortez's, camp as far as the extreme socialist Democrats. And Biden picks a running mate that called him a card-holding, KKK member, a racist. And nobody's, like, scratching their head over this. It's like, why? Okay, so you pick somebody who hates your guts to be your VP, So, yeah,
So
I'm sure Joe Biden will be perfectly safe when he gets into office, Nothing's going to happen to him, right, Craig?
right. Well, they propped up FDR for years too. I mean, they have propped up presidents in the past to keep them have appearances of being still in complete control. So it wouldn't be surprising.
Obviously, Biden didn't pick her. He was told who to announce.
I think his PR people told him to pick her, and him, with his memory being the way it is, he probably doesn't even remember the debates with her where she was viciously attacking him.
Yeah, and then that, based on what you said, Ed, when you said socialist Democrat, that maybe she will pick as her vice president. Maybe she'll pick Bernie Sanders.
I don't know if Joe Biden dies after they're elected. She would become the president, and then doesn't the Speaker of the House become the VP, and then they appoint a new Speaker of the House? I think that's how it works.
Well, that's a question I don't know the answer to. You could be correct on that. I thought that basically the vice president or the president, the new president picks the vice president. I'm not sure that what happened with Gerald Ford.
Because from the previous president, there is supposed to be a chain of power. It's just like when Arizona lost John McCain, and they let his wife finish out his term. That was totally illegal. That never should have happened.
What happened with I was alive during this, and I don't remember when Ford became president. Was it Mondale? Who became vice president, and was he a senator? Was he appointed? I don't remember that. I don't remember how that happened.
I don't either.
I'm trying to think during my lifetime. Say again?
I said I don't either. I'd have to look that up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd have to look it up, too. I'm trying to think of other presidents during my lifetime. I think Nixon is the only one. Nixon resigning, and then Ford became, and then somebody came vice president. Thinking Mondale, but I may not be right on that. Trying to think if there's anyone else during of course there was Johnson, it was Kennedy, and then who was the VP then? Who became VP? Again, I'd have to look that up. I don't remember. That was before my time though.
But of course, if you look at this map by sheer volume of land control and how much of this map is red compared to how much of it is blue, how does that small percentage of the country, mass-wise, dictate to everybody else in the country who's going to lead them?
Probably because the population centers.
It's the population centers. Yeah, it's New York. It's especially on the East Coast, a lot of big population centers there. It's California. California's got a really big population, which is why they have so many electoral votes there. But again, that kind of California being set up the way that it is, it kind of goes against the reason why we originally had the Electoral College set up. We've talked about that before. It was supposed to make sure that no one state or
no one
dominate over everything else. Well, look at what's happening with California right now. Look at what's happening with the escapees of California who are voting themselves right back into the same situation where they moved to.
But even the small states, I mean, the forefathers definitely had a good idea there. I mean, even small states, let's say Rhode Island, even they have electoral votes. Everybody has a say, and it's supposed to be proportional then based on the census also. It's all supposed to be proportional, but yeah, states like, Texas is another one. Texas has a lot of full national.
Can you trust California's census while Trump was in office and during Obama's administration, they were letting illegals vote? Can you trust the Census of California and states that do stuff like that? They had sanctuary cities where they would allow the people that were here illegally to vote in our election.
I've not kept up with California. I tend to ignore what California does most of the time because they claim to be the leaders of trends, and usually when I see what they're doing, I'm thinking, well, that's not something I want to be any part of. Some of the things they end up doing, it's always something that I would never want to have. I would never want to see the rest of the nation get into. Let's see. I'm almost out of time here. Little note for my audience here. The next show isn't until January, and that's back in Indianapolis. I don't even know if I'll be doing it. I don't know how the shows will be now. Maybe the shows will pick up if Biden wins, because maybe people will be a little, because the last 4 years the shows have been pretty bad. They got worse and worse with Trump.
I actually am thoroughly surprised at the shows that you've been to. You've reported it being so bad, especially the stuff that's been closer to the election that has been open. Down here, the gun shows, they got stripped out bare real quick, especially the one that we had locally here. And all of the gun shops are talking about, especially this last week of the election, you had Democrats. The one gun shop was saying, yeah, he has Democrats and Republicans both showing up here buying firearms because no matter who gets in, both sides think there's going to be civil unrest. And people are buying firearms because they think they may need to use them, not that they want to use them. But the fact that the cops aren't defending anybody, pretty much means you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah, well, the shows have been bad for me and most of the other vendors. However, if you sold guns or ammo, the shows were good for those people right before the election. So I'm not saying that everything was bad. It's just particular things with guns and ammo mainly were the only ones that were performing well.
It's understandable when you consider what you have to go through to get into a gun show right now. I mean, you're going to show up, and they're going to want to check your temperature. You have to wear a mask. They want to keep track of you going in. If you come back into the show, most of these shows, which usually they'd stamp your hand and you could come right back in, nope, it's not going to happen. So the people that are going there are paying to go in. They're going with a plan. They have specific items that they're going for, and it is called a gun show, Craig, so you can't blame them for focusing on what the show is about. Unfortunately, for the other vendors, the side vendors like you who do the preparedness and whatnot, and I'm sorry, I think the preparedness thing is just as important as a firearm. And if stuff hits the fan in your area and you don't have food, they're making fun of people running out and buying toilet paper during election night. Now, I actually saw that because me and Shelly went to the store, and the grocery store aisle for the toilet paper was bare. But, they're remembering what happened with the pandemic. Everybody freaked out, bought toilet paper, and nobody could find any. So before the BS hits the fan, people are actually thinking a little bit. Now, it's still panic buying, but, hey, they're going to have toilet paper. They might not be able to defend themselves, but they'll have toilet paper.
I was in a Menards today, and they had plenty of masks and gloves, rubber gloves and masks, because those were hot items, too, in the beginning of the pandemic. But they had plenty of them on the shelves, at least today when I was in a Menards. So, yeah, we'll see. I did get some more orders in online, not too many, but I did see a small increase, and I did have one panic call. One guy wanted to see if he could get a gas mask before the election, wanted to know if there was time to ship it. And I said, well, yeah, okay, sure. But what you do with a gas mask? Okay, there's some music. Thanks, everybody, for listening. YouTube channel is Forbid TV. The website is forbiddenknowledge.info. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Sorry I didn't have much planned enough to research on today to get the show done how I wanted to, but thanks, everybody, for listening. See you on.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free, and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost, you're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free, and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores, and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? Oh, sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Evening Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Corky.
one day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, East, Northeast, and South, along with Southwest. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultra Net, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying 2 states, the territories, and the clock. It is 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Weapons Wednesday. It is the 4th of November. It is the 12th year of open Fabian socialist and in-your-face Soviet socialist occupation of America with a K. And the superpower that doesn't know how to hold elections or do things right, showing that it's, what do they say, Star Trek, the old movie, double dumbass. Yes, they're double dumbasses. Anyway, 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords, kids. We are here. And, of course, it's the day after fake election. Day we have the fakeocracy, we have the plandemic, and now we have the fake election. And the rest is, as they say, history. Well, we'll just keep chugging along. We're going to have to keep as busy as it is. It is Weapons Wednesday, by the way. And a couple things I did find. I was, thinking, well, maybe I should go check Allegheny surplus out. So I can put an AR-15 together with 2 steps for about $430, $420 right now, as a matter of fact, for a 16-inch barrel, which is fine. I can add some mags for another $60. I can also pick up some ammunition for, but I figure I'll do $100 worth of ammo, but that's a sidebar, and we'll worry about that. We'll slide that off the table. Figure that's a given expense. You're going to buy something, you're going to have to buy ammo for it, no matter what it is. Doesn't make any difference, no ticky, no washy, no bullets, no boom. So you got to have all that squared away. However, in web gear, if you're building an AR-15, you need AR-15 mag pouches, right? Guys, this is the cheapest system you can find right now for really one-stop shopping at another location. That is at AlleghenyWholesale.com. 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 Again, Allegheny Wholesale, AlleghenyWholesale.com. If you go over to their, actually, they're all web gear, first of all. You got to make sure we understand that. And if we look for the, let's see, mag pouches, canteen covers, everything we need, pretty much we can get here without spending too much money, okay? So let me give you a little idea. Canteens, of course, everybody has been complaining about that. Canteens are not as readily available as they were just a year ago, and that's because of a change in supply as much as anything, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is go with the Granada Rig, as everybody used to call it. And again, this is end of Vietnam into, the 80s. U.S. military woodland tactical camo load-bearing vest. It's an LBV Vietnam era. These are in nice condition. Some that I've seen look virtually new, but this says in nice condition. $7.65. Now, you could literally wear this by itself. I mean, if you had to, just throw it on, and you got mag pouches, a couple grenade pockets, and you got a suspender and, backpack system or a back system to fasten stuff to. But you want a pistol belt. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a short list. Grab your pen and paper. It's not really long here but I haven't even gone through everything yet. I think I could still find everything here in their markdown or bulk end for a pretty good price. But here's the basic rig. U.S. GI Military Tactical Woodland Camo Load Bearing Vest, LBV, Vietnam era, nice condition, $7.65. So if I was building my bargain basement AR-15, I need bargain basement equipment, but in this case also pretty darn good. One of the things I like about the Granada Rig is that it has very, very wide cargo straps, cargo pads for the shoulder harness. And because of that, it distributes weight better, and it is padded, obviously. So this was one of the first steps to try and, alleviate some of the discomfort or discomfiture with regard to the troops. Now, I would point out that this rig was supposed to work with the PASGAT armor or any other body armor you might be wearing for the day or any of the newer stuff. You don't need MOLLE with this. You'd use this just the way it is. It comes with the ability to carry 6 mags in mag pouches right from the get-go. Has 2 grenade pockets that are built in right from the get-go. Here's the next thing you do. Right on the same page, U.S. military pistol, web belt, gray, quick release, buckle, medium Alice. It's an OD green belt. $2.61. Now, that's a good price. That's a reasonable price. At medium, though, remember, so if you're a little bigger, you're going to either need a jumper. They make expanders for the belt, or you buy a large, and there are places you can find them still for a reasonable price. In this case, it's a U.S. quick-release plastic belt, and $2.61, and it fastens with the hangers right to the bottom of this rig. So now you have a complete system as far as for hanging stuff. Well, next, Canteen Covers. Now, they have some really great volume prices over at Allegheny Wholesale. They're a wholesaler, okay? You can find prices on eBay for quantities of things. In this case, though, we don't need that many because you're buying it just for yourself. So 5 USGI 1-quart Canteen Covers with the Alice clips attached, $7.23. So what you're looking at here is a very reasonably priced 5 canteen covers. Well, Mark, I maybe need 2. No, you should carry 4, first of all. I would point that out. You have 2 that you put on your basic fighting load, but you got 3 more available for whenever you put a backpack together, which you eventually will. And if you want to go with the Alice pack or any of the others, the straps and hangers and everything will accommodate Alice, or they will accommodate the MOLLE, depending on what you want to use. So you can tag on what you want, but since your canteen covers come with the clips, and the clips are actually extra right now, this has been a roller coaster always through time with the accoutrements or the parts that are supposed to be attached, and the clips are there. So that's an expense otherwise you'd have to take care of. So $1.25, $1.30 per canteen cover is reasonable. They're OD green. They do match up with this particular load-bearing vest. Now, if I take off, well, actually, I should mention this first. There's a couple other items. If I go to some of the other sections here, you will find the compass/compress pouches. There are some good quantity prices. You want to use those. The only thing I didn't see right away were spare magazine pouches, okay? And let's look to see what they have here. M16, there we go. Let's see if they have them. And if they do, then, well, maybe they don't. Of course, we're looking for them. Anyway, 2 USGI military first aid medic compass pouches, LC1, and those are $3.50 for 2, but they do have better quantity prices. So, again, as I pointed out, you want to search through it, but that's still not bad. For a couple of pouches, $3.50, so what, $1.75 a piece? And 2 typically are what you use, 1 for compress, 1 for compass, but you can also pick a few more up and more for more compresses and medical gear. Again, one nice thing is Alice is like all the other American equipment from back in the day, all the LC series of equipment, or the Vietnam era TA-56, or the Korean War era, snap case system, the DOT systems for Korea back to, in fact, the DOTs were involved in Vietnam too, but the DOT system going back through World War II and even in World War I, all this stuff overlaps, and because of that, most of these systems actually accommodate the overlapping eras of technology. So a lot of the stuff laying out there will hook right up to your newer equipment without any problem. Now, granted, this stuff in some cases is older than the person who might be buying it, but if you're minimal in cost, in other words, you have minimal resource, you want to keep it minimal cost. What we're talking about here is about the best price you're going to get for a vest with mag pouches. So if you think about it, with a pistol belt, another $2 and some odd cents. Canteen Covers, $7.23 for 5. Canteens, you have to shop around. And I watch resale shops. I just got a bunch of heavy-duty Lexan canteens from one of the resale shops. So look in their Lexan and plastic cup section. They got bins of these things. Back several years ago, they made some for, MASH promotional that they got in the mail. I remember when they came out. Well, those things are showing up at the resale shops, brand new in the box, never issued, or brand new pulled out of the box and stuck in one of these big bins for 25 cents. So I've been picking up canteens for 25 cents. Now, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But I've also had other water containers or comparable size containers that'll slide right into the canteen covers and would be good enough for now until you can upgrade. And you might just like to keep what you got because they work just fine the way they are if you got something different. So you can improvise, adapt, and overcome. There's no T-O-N-E, type bond here. Guys, if it works and we can get hold of it, we use it. We're the militia. We'll be stripping the enemy corpses for everything else they have. So you'll be able to mix and match as you choose to down the road. You'll make it work. Anyway, one other thing that they do have real quick, over at the same place, AlleghenyWholesale.com, AlleghenyWholesale.com. Foundational equipment again. They have tactical fighting load, carrier, Molly vest, ACU, FLC, U.S. Army military, nice condition, $7.20. And that is the middle or baseline average right now, lower end, but baseline average at this time for that vest. Doesn't have anything else. It's just a regular, plain old ACU Molly vest. They also have the Molly 2 waist packs. We've paid less, but still, this is not a bad price in this day and age. Pack / butt, fanny, hip, bag, digital, ACU, camo, genuine U.S. military, USGI, $7.60. So right there, you've got a basic system ready to go. You've got an additional cargo carrier. So, for little stuff, don't need a whole lot if you're, tactically prepping for a just conventional close quarter action. The other thing here that really is, I'm surprised they're still there because it's the best price anywhere in the country. Molly ACU drop leg expander pistolman set, 4 9mm or 45 ACP mag pouches with a drop leg extender for $4.50. Well, that's like $1 an item, and right now nobody's got stuff like that for $1 an item except like Allegheny. Okay, I've just looked at a couple other places during the hour break. Pretty much everybody's eaten up, so hopefully I'm pointing you towards another watering hole that still has the inventory. If you go with the Granada / USGI military woodland camel rig, a lot of you guys have woodland camel for your base. This is a good choice. Whichever direction you go, for the 3 items that are, would put a basic kit together, what are you talking about? Oh, let's see, $16.50, about $16.50, and you're ready to go. That's basic equipment right there. As far as your web gear goes. Now, you still need canteens, and again, with putting the pistol belt on this, you can add any other pouches you want, NATO pouches, Euro pouches, whatever you find, and those can go around the perimeter of your belt in addition to the built-in, stitched-in chest pockets that are already there. Now, I don't know if this is a straight, somebody just asked me that here. Let me look at the picture real quick. These may be the straight pocket up and down, but I'll have to see them, and I'm going to pick up some of these myself because I've got, I probably have about 25 of these, but I think I'm going to add a few more. $7.65 a piece, but they come either angled or straight. The earliest ones were straight dump pockets. Later on, and you guys probably have both, they had the tapered or angled pocket at about a 45-degree angle to the to the center. And either way, they work. but the price is right, $7.65 a piece. You can't beat that, really can't. In fact, you could use, like I said, if you're really poor, you got the mags for, 10 for $60. Well, this gives you a basic carrying system to put most of your mags in. I still would put the pistol belt on as quick as I could, and for $2, I'd not eat a meal to make that one. And then I'd be watching for a fanny pack, but I wouldn't necessarily buy the one here. They got a brand new woodland camo for $18, almost $20. You can find used ones for less. And or OD green, although the OD green ones that are now real Vietnam era, they're classic Vietnam reenact. Gotta have it because I can look like Bunny and Platoon, man. That's the big thing right now. So you want to look for the European counterparts. The Dutch make a fanny pack, the Austrians did, and the Germans did. The Germans had 3 or 4 models, some a little smaller than our standard, and they don't expand out. Others, virtual copies, except they're in kind of a different shade of OD green. Who cares? They work just fine, and they're still in an OD green shade. In fact, they're more of a gray green, some of them are. And that's actually a better year-round utility color for in the field. So just a heads up there. Again, whatever you mix and match, there's no table of authorized equipment, but I would recommend that your unit standardize. So if you're asking about trying to get a whole bunch of people outfitted, this is the best solution for the price. USGI, military tactical woodland camo, load-bearing vest, LBV, Vietnam-era nice, $7.65. And that is at AlleghenyWholesale.com, ALLEGHENY, AlleghenyWholesale.com, which is also known as Allegheny Surplus Outlet. Their phone number is 888-216-7159, but I've tried to call, and unless you can get hold of them or you can do a chat and then get them on the phone off to the side, usually not answering the phone. That doesn't mean they won't. I'd try the number. If you've got questions and you want to make a quantity purchase, I'm sure you could get the price down from $7.65 if you wanted to do a whole bunch of these. So heads up, and again, solutions, not just complaining about the problems. Another thing here real quick, and I know people keep asking about AKs. There's not a whole lot of places where you actually have reasonably priced AKs, or for that matter, AK rifles in stock. If they do, they're not cheap. But Atlantic Firearms does have and has been carrying a number of AKs that they've been replenishing as they go. That's kind of their niche. There have been some new arsenal guns that have come in. Yeah, they're $1,000 to $1,200 to $1,300 a piece. But there are some other rifles, like the equivalent to the Romanian Wasser, that have come in, and they are presently over at Atlantic also, and they are $700, right around there, if they have any left. They might be already out of stock because they came in about, a few days ago, actually Friday of last week. I get the notices as they come in, and I'm probably behind on that. But as it is with Atlantic, they do also have PTR 91s, AR-15s, not as cheap as the one I showed you how to build, but at least as serviceable, obviously, and middle end, top of the line. There's a number of different options with regard to, wouldn't you know it? There's a number of different options with regard to even configurations in each of these rifles, but we are not talking lower end, we're talking upper end, and because of that, they are price of a used car. Okay, a nice used car. Well, not a real super nice used car in this day and age, but a serviceable car. That's why I try to skim pennies and $9 wherever we can and come up with a solution that way, so that we're not screwed with the regard to the wallet's empty and I can't afford ammunition, because that is an issue. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to bring Atlantic up, and they just do not want. A lot of these are being swamped right now. Actually, I talked to one, and they just, even on their internet now, there's simply too many people trying to do the same thing at the same time. So don't be surprised. And again, also be patient. Remember, they really, 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 really would like to sell you something. Let's not make any mistake about that. It's not like, oh, they're being mean, they don't like me. Nothing could be further from the point. They love you so much, they'd love to have you come back and visit again and again and again. But the biggest problem has been, well, dudes, price-wise, it's like, oh, my gods. Or availability just simply isn't there right now, okay? Okay, we finally got on the page. Here we go. For most of the AKs, I'm going to see what the lower end is right now. Oh, God. Oh, boy. And then, oh, boy. And, oh, my goodness. Well, they do have AK-47 Romanian Model 65 underfolder rifles, $989, $999, $999. Are you getting my drift on this? It's like, I won't say it's unobtainium, but for a lot of you, although again, for some of you, I'll tell you what, if you were going to spend $1,000 on an AK, I would recommend that you roll up, a few more, $100 bills and get the RPK long barrel version if you could first, if you're going to be buying a number of AKs. The long barrel and extreme short barrel models will be the first thing that disappear and already have disappeared a couple of times. And that's because they are minority guns. The RPK is a squad gun in a fire team. And in the Russian military, Eastern Bloc countries where they're still using AKs or anywhere where they are. And because of this, it's 1 in 10, 1 in 5, depending on what the allocation is. So there aren't as many out and about. And the kits, or the ones that they put together, it's an up and down issue with regard to how many they actually finally decide to assemble. Well, I will take, what they do have, in theory, they show that they're available. Oh, God, Century Arms, I'm not going to mention that. Not right now. Oh, God, they're probably horrible. But $700 for a Century Arms AK, which most of the time works, but you never know what, depending on the time of year. And again, Hugo of Warsaw, who's over in the assembly plant, it's up and down as far as how well it's built. And there are a couple of Century models, but even they're up around $900 a unit. And again, the Wasser 10s, $860. I had a bunch of questions about AKs, and it's about why aren't you mentioning AKs? Well, if you have this kind of money, and again, people are spending the same for ARs, I don't see any problem with investing in them. If you're willing to go there, go there. They do have the, for instance, it's a Century Arms RPK. Well, it's your choice if you want to. The one big thing here again is that I wouldn't go the pistols. Really, there's no need for the money you're spending. You might as well get a full rifle. If you're going to spend that kind of money, get a full rifle. At the very least, get there are some 9mm and 45 carbines that are out there. That's where you want to stick. The little pistols and such. Yes, they do have application, but when you kill enough of the bad guys in black uniforms, you're going to be pulling those off their warm, dead corpses. And you'll find that you don't really want to be on equal terms at spitting distance with spitting bullets, spitting guns, where the short barrel, micro tiny spray and pray, or at the very least you got to get close to make sure you do it right. And you won't like being that close. You're going to find out about that real quick, okay? So, again, I would recommend, that's not your first best choice. There's a lot of other weapons out there, or if you are going to get an AK, find the AK that fits your wallet and is a serviceable arm by, your standards. You have to look to see what's out there. Riley Defense is one that's popping up here for about $800 a gun. And these are in 7.62 by 39, by the way, not 5.45. And I have been looking for 5.45 rifles, but again, pricey and up on the higher end right now. So, and it looks to me like the average ambient temperature for the what we used to call the lower end AKs is about $800. So that's quote unquote lower end AKs. If there's no such thing when it comes to the price tag anymore. Next, on ammunition, 7.62 by 39 all over the place, so don't make a mistake. I'm not talking down the AK. It's the most affordable to shoot. If you bought those SKSs for $250 to $300 in the last month and a half, you guys should be smiling right now. If you have SKSs or AKs that you bought before this crazy town thing went the way that it did, you're very happy right now. And you might have even built a few, because there are receivers out there. There's a lot of technology out there. You just got to be patient and do the research and figure out what fits your wallet and makes sense for your capacity. What can you do with what the tools you've got? Another thing here real quick, again, with the AK, remember it takes a little different carrying system for mag pouches and such, but there are units out there. There is the technology out there. And one neat thing is you can do a quick grab on the traditional Chinese AK chest pouches for $12 to $13. And right off the bat, initially that can be your combat basic load, just your absolute bare bones load. What we do with those, guys, actually, if you watch several of the videos over at Libertytreeradio on YouTube, go to Libertytreeradio, go way back into our posted videos. If you pay attention, you'll see some of our guys, some in Tiger Stripe, especially with some of the more specific units, carrying the regular chest pouch in addition to the standard TA90/LC gear. And quite successfully, because we have redesigned those pouches a little bit. If you've listened to the program, you know we actually build our own if need be. And we've done production. Michigan Militia Manufacturing, MMM, has been doing this for decades. We have patterns, cut, prints, standards for, the specs for the equipment, what we need to build, strapping, keepers, hangers, clips, all that fun stuff. And we can crank out when needed, as much as is needed when the time comes. We're already set up to do that. That's already, like, so far in the taillights, it's 2 decades old and more. In fact, when I did equipping for the New World Order, if you look at equipping for the New World Order Part 2, you will notice, if you look on the table, there's a whole section I did there, not very long. All of the chest rigs that you see there, that are the darker ones especially, were built by us. Those aren't Chinese imports. Those are mimics. We made copies. We did them ourselves, and we actually did a better copy. One of the things that we was asked for back when we were doing equipping Part 2, just beforehand, everybody was buying the cheap 75-round drums. Guys, they used to be $19 a piece, okay? If you bought 3, they were $17 a piece. And so we had lots of them. We still do. A lot of people, instead of carrying 3 mags in the center, they wanted to be able to carry that drum. So we came up with a design to carry the drum in the middle and 2 mag pouches around the outside, either side of that, with a double mag pouch for each. So you've got 120 rounds of stick mag ammo, and you got a 75-round drum in the middle. Plus, we also body armored the center panel right behind it. And there's 2 reasons we did that. Obviously, for bullet resistance. But the real reason was to pad the operator's chest from the drum, because of the way, the drums are, they can be pokey sticky at times. If you put them in the pouch and you weren't paying attention, they can be, obnoxious. So to eliminate that, we went with a 12 by 14 Kevlar panel that is behind that and stitched right into the chest pouch. So, and by the way, yes, we also added a chicken plate sleeve that is in between the back canvas panel and the envelope that holds the soft armor. So you can slide a titanium plate, a steel plate, whatever you got in there, and you have that much more protection up front. So, yeah, we've done all kinds of experimenting. And, again, we would now go to that as we need to, because right now there has been, as I've walked you through it, we've had a glut in equipment as long as we're willing to go with the older gear, to the point where right now it's not necessary for us to make our own. But we already have the patterns. We already have a little manufacturing arrangement set up. We already have the sewing machines, raw materials. Everything is on standby and sealed and barreled. So if we needed to start cranking equipment out, we would be doing so immediately. As needed, we could do it. It'd purely be a matter of when do we want to start. That's just how it is. Another thing here real quick, if you pay attention with a lot of these AKs, of course, the Krinkhoff-type pistols or the AK pistols are in there, which would be absorbed into the attack that presently the ATF is involved with the support-type pistols, where they have the supports. They're not shoulder stocks, they're arm rests. Yeah, whatever. Well, anyway, those are something that the bad guys are going to come after all of them. The bat faggots have every intention of doing so. They're pissed because people are already talking too much about what really the agenda is. It's Weapons Wednesday, and those are weapons that are in the crosshairs by the bat faggots as part of the next list of things to do for the globalists. Donald Trump made that happen. Doesn't make any difference if he gets in or doesn't get in. He signed off on an executive order to go after the bump stocks under an arbitrary and capricious action. The bat faggots saw that as nothing but blood in the water, and it gave them the opportunity. Trump knew it. His little kosher operators that are handling him knew it. And they've made a tool for the enemy to use to attack other gun owners, which they're already in motion to do. For bringing you up to speed, your best place to go for all the information on that, well, not everything, but most, is Guns and Gadgets over on YouTube. Guns and Gadgets. Guns and Gadgets. Watch the last 7, 8, 9 videos. Of course, if you haven't watched any, go back and watch them all. It'll pretty well bring you up to speed pretty quick. And again, that's a preferred situation where you need to find out what's going on, you get everybody into the right mindset about what's nationally happening with all this BS with the fake horse election, the whole 9 yards. What's really going on behind the scenes, far more wicked than anything they want anybody to think about. Another thing about Atlantic is they do have, obviously, military surplus guns. Oh, well, hold on here. I've got to find out. They did get SKSs maybe back in stock. Nope, they're still sold out. Sorry, this is one of those pages where you got to go finally to the item, and when you get to it, then they tell you, oh, sorry, Mark, they really don't have it after all. But they do have a number of other surplus items in the inventory if you want to look to see what's there. Sometimes you guys are looking for certain parts to finish off something you've already been working on. And definitely these are the kind of places where you go and you peruse the spare parts inventory, peruse the military surplus section, also their pouches, components, and support technology, because you never know what you're going to run into. Also, there are quantity items and kits. So, if you're looking for a quantity of, example, Romanian AK-47 rifle full auto fire control sets, 5-pack for $99. You know what's funny? That kit right there, think about it. At Center Fire Systems for more than 10 years, that little bundle of 5 sets was going for $19.95 all day. In fact, on sale, they'd be down to $10 for 5 sets of the AK-47 rifle full auto fire control systems. Not so anymore, but times change, world changes, we can see where things are going. Another thing everybody's asked about, the bayonets on the AKs. Yeah, they do have a bunch of them over Atlantic, but you can find a beater if you search around through the different surplus sites, and it'll work just fine. I do like the Russian, the Bulgarian, and the Chinese wire cutter models. They do work. In fact, when I originally brought those in back in the 80s, when I was dealing with bringing up and building out for it to a massive level by then, I was getting the bayonets for a couple dollars a piece. And you know who snagged them up first because they hadn't seen them before? Some of them had seen them but couldn't find them. Are wire operators, wire stringers in the military for telephone cable and for wire communications. You carry the knife, but it's a really good wire cutter. Very, very reliable, very simple, but it's out of the way. It's got its own sheath, goes on your belt. It's out of, it's where it needs to be when you need it. And it's a tool that's also a weapon, which is why everybody liked it. So actually I had like a bunch of the signal units here, the signal companies, carrying dozens and dozens of the AK-47 or AK-74 bayonet with scabbard because they wanted the wire cutter. So they were carrying Warsaw packed equipment, all over the place. And once somebody would see it, 10 more people, if somebody saw it, 10 more people wanted one. So we actually sold many times, many to like the 156 signal, units like that all over the state of Michigan. Oh, let's see. And again, somebody's asking, okay, it's Atlantic Firearms. You want to peruse it, but remember, be patient. And this is one of those places where they'll have the picture up. They'll even say view product. They'll even give you a price, and then you get there and it's out of stock. But it does give you a good method of identifying inventory, things that you're interested in. Okay, unique stuff. Next, on the SKSs, again, I will remind you something over at centerfiresystems.com. Again, looking for simple ways to carry ammunition. In other words, if all I could afford was the gun, some ammo, or ammo and mags, depending on what gun it is, like with the SKS, it would be ammo and stripper clips. But now I don't have hardly any money left. What can I do? Chest pouches, the standard Chinese chest pouches, or the knockoffs that were made and are still being made by some of the other companies, although I'm sure probably China Sport that's actually making them. If you go over to centerfiresystems.com, and what we use these for, I've actually got, hundreds of them. What we use them for are the thermal 20-round magazines, because we got the thermal mags for under $1 a piece, remember? And what we did is you load up the thermal mags, one to each pocket on these 10-pocket chest pouches, and you got yourself a magazine bandolier. And again, their 20-round mag pouches are not out there like they used to be. For the longest time, everybody wanted 30s, and the 20s were out there because that's what was surplus. But everything caught up with itself, and all the 20s are long gone now. Now they'd be a collector's item you sell for 10 times what you paid for them, 20 times what you paid for them. And you can make some money to pay for all the other junk you needed, which, by the way, I'm seriously doing right now as far as some of the Vietnam-era stuff, because I like it, but I do have some extras tucked away and here and there, and they're going into the Vietnam collectors category. Oh, classic. And the stuff that I put away 20 and 30 years ago and barreled for strategic reserve, tactical reserve, guess what? Now it's like uncanting wine. In the dark, well protected, sealed from the environment. When I open it up, it's just like when we put them in the barrels, 25 years ago. Only I paid pennies, and I'm going to dump them on the market for an average upper end price. And 2 or 3 of them sold will pay for the whole barrel, which is how you do it. And again, that's for those collectors. For you guys, you know how it's going to work. When the time comes, we'll have as many of those as we have, and they'll be issuing them out to troops who need them. But if I can turn 25 cents into, say, $25, well, yeah, that's a reasonable exchange. Now, anyway, if you go over to chest pouches, or you go over, centerfiresystems.com, chest pouches, chest pouch, SKS chest pouch is what you want to do. And when you get over to centerfiresystems.com, punch in as a search chest pouches, and they have woodland camo. Hey, for you woodland guys, $7 a piece. Now, that's as cheap as you're going to get. They're a standard 10-pocket. They're made out of nylon. They match up with your standard Atlas gear and everything else, and your LC gear and your newer stuff. Again, what a lot of the guys have done, they take one of these, cinch it up a little higher, put a standard pistol belt and the other rigs on, and this is actually the supplemental equipment. It can be additional ammunition like with the SKS. You drop everything else, you still got the sports bra with 10 pockets with 30 rounds in each one. That's some firepower. So if you had to dump everything else, backpack and, the other support rig, maybe you're out of mags or out of stripper clips and you've emptied those out, and you switch down, you could lighten the load and drop just to this. But for $6.99, I'll put a penny in there. For $7, it's camo stripper clip chest pouch. Camo stripper clip chest pouch. If you have AKs, what did we do with these? I've done this for years with these. We actually paid a little less before and also paid a little more. Right now, this is the best price anywhere for these, and it's over at centerfiresystems.com. But what we do is load these up with those 20-round mags, or we load them up with SKS stripper clips, and I treat these like bandoliers. And for $7, it's either a combat rig. If a guy's got to schlep these cross country, if he's going to throw something on because he needs to take it over to some guys that need ammo, you just take the multiples of these, string them over, and shrug into them from with the pockets in the rear and the tie up front, so they don't flop around. And you can put on multiples of these things and tie them into place, and then run like hell, drop them off, just shrug them off, turn around and go back for more. Or stay and fight, which is probably what your plan was. But you're resupplying the troops up front. What we've done with these, I've got hundreds. In fact, I'm probably underestimating. But I have hundreds of 20-millimeter ammo cans. where we take these. We've loaded them up with 7.62 by 39. We put each, all three of the stripper clips in a Ziploc bag. Put the Ziploc bag, the ammunition in the pocket, snap the pocket, load the whole chest pouch up, and then we weave it into, I roll it up and lay it into the can upright, stuff it tight so it's, packed in there well, and keep the straps up on the edge of the can. Then I load up another one, and I put the next one in, and I put the next one in side by side. When I fill up a layer, then I put another layer on top of the first layer. And when I'm done, all the straps are on the outside, and the spaghetti straps. What I do is, after we load the last ones up as high as we can, then we take the straps and lay them in, taking the bottom ones and laying them in, obviously first, and folding the ones on top, and then seal the lid. What did I just do? I just filled up a whole bunch of bandoliers, like I told you, or if need be, if I've got any number of SKSs, or I've got spares that somebody had, and they said, well, I got rifles, but I don't have any gear, I can bring in a couple of 20-round cans, 20-millimeter cans, and drop them down, and either I'm reissuing ammunition, here you go, fast as we can, because I don't need you all piled up in one place, or I'm taking it to the front where it needs to be. But everything is weatherized, everything is multi-packed. The bandoliers work as padding for the ammunition while it's in storage, which is not critical. I'm not going to bounce it around because it's going to be in a cache. Usually they're in bunkers underground or depots. But when I do deploy it, it's going to be well protected, both from the snot beat out of it and from any kind of moisture. And when I pull them out, they're already in flap-over pouches, and that gives it that much more weatherization. Remember, the ammunition is on stripper clips in Ziploc bags. I can't do any more. I don't need to do any more. That's enough. But this is a system that works really well, and I've made many, many of them. As soon as we had more money, got to remember, for years we did these. When you see them equipping for the New World Order Part 1 and 2, remember that was in the early 90s. Ammunition was even cheaper still. And the 80s, when the Chinese stuff first came in, it was a giveaway, half a penny a round. And we didn't shoot it. We just kept buying it and banking it. Why? Well, it was in cans, Chinese ammo cans. If it's in the Chinese ammo cans, we don't pull it out. Also, I will remind you of a couple of things. When you start pulling out the Chinese ammunition, and there's God knows how many tens and tens and tens of millions of rounds of that stuff in reserve right now, a percentage of that is going to be on stripper clips. Now, there's 3 different countries that we got a good quantity of that from. We got some of the Hungarian SKS, some of the Romanian SKS, the Yugo, and we also did get the Chinese, which makes 4, because that's the 4th one. But the 3 Euros pretty much are all the same. And the interesting thing is 2 out of the 3 were fabricated cans. They do not look like the regular ham Spam can you're used to, but rather are tin that were folded over and soldered. And you open up the can. They had a zip system for opening them up. And then inside you have the ammunition in whatever configuration of boxes, transport bags, battle packs, whatever. With the Chinese, it comes in the ham tins, and they did everything in those ham tins. I've got 50 caliber ammunition in ham tins. In the Chinese that you see the 440 rounds of 7.62 by 39. We have machine gun links, M2 links. We bought every last one of those that came into the country. Why? They're sealed from the environment. They are in their own cans. And we have lost count, don't even know how many, but we got them so dirt cheap, it was ridiculous. And we bought them when nobody thought to buy them. So we have many, 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 many brand new depoted 50 caliber links all over the place. Yeah, we bought the loaders back when they were $25 a piece instead of $300 or $400 or $500 like they are now. But also, SKS stripper clips come in those cans. Yeah, it's heavy. It must be ammo. Well, if you can't read Chinese, hopefully you're staying in touch with the people in front of you. You might want to open the can, or at least when you see a different can, you might want to open one up since you're going to anyway to load up mags and equipment, magazines and stripper clips. You might want to open that odd can up and go, oh, so that's what chow chow bang guy means. I just got a can full of SKS stripper clips here, just the stripper clips. I believe the smaller can held something like, 2,000 800 stripper clips or whatever. The bigger cans are actually deeper, hold close to, I think closer to 3,000 some odd, whatever. I'd have to look at the numbers, but it actually is on the outside. The quantity is correct, but if you don't read Chinese, there are a few different symbols that are on there that tell you, but you got to know what the Chinese supply symbol system is. Now, again, there's many other things that were shipped over, but those are the most common. One of the things was Browning 30 caliber links, but not as many. And all these are brand new, unissued, virgin, ready to, like they just came from the factory / old inventory, but old inventory stored well. So that's a lot of what you're going to be seeing come out of the woodwork. Be ready for it. And remember, if you grab one of those can openers for those ammo cans, hang on to the puppy. Don't just chuck it on the ground. In fact, give everybody one to carry. The more people with those can openers, as you get more of them in the field, and never waste any of them. If you have too many, send some back to the rear with the troops, so the troops will have them on hand. But if everybody has one, everybody can be working on getting into an ammo can. You won't be waiting for that guy to work that one can opener. So just a heads up, really a good idea to invest in one of those and have it, lanyard right to your combat gear, not to your backpack, to your combat gear. Remember, that system is still in service with a lot of countries, including the Chinese, Eastern European, the Russians, a couple other countries in Africa. They can up stuff that's brand new, exactly the way you've seen all that Chinese ammo. So that is a tool that is very useful and makes it a lot easier, and it's a specific tool, very, very narrow application. I guess you could stab somebody to death with it, but it takes a lot of stabbing, and it just be over and over, over and over and over and over and over, and you still wouldn't stab deep. Oh, man, that's a lot of work. Anyway, again, one more time, somebody's asking. That's centerfiresystems.com, centerfiresystems.com, and it's camo, stripper, clip, chest, pouch, $6.99. They're in stock. I'm looking at them right here. They're woodland camo. So for you woodland units, more goodies that match your troops out. So they squares them away. They look strapped. Let's see, what is it, 52? We got a little bit of time. Couple other things here, as we've noticed, everybody keeps going, the numbers keep changing. There's nothing reliable. Guys, for those who are Trumpites, and you absolutely believe Trump could do no wrong and he's the next best thing to sliced white bread, remember, they lied about him for 4 going on 5 years nonstop. They have lied about the election, right? And, of course, they also lied about the militia for all of these years. And how many people listen to that BS who are now telling you that, the press is lying about Trump? Yeah, and they're lying about the militia, and the idiot stick will actually go, maybe they were they're telling the truth selectively. Yeah. Remember that some people are just trying to find any excuse to get out of the idea they got to fight for their freedom. And again, remember who they are. They won't be around for you when the time comes, maybe, other than maybe to betray you. Other things here real quick. Let's see. Buttstock. Somebody was asking about that. I'm going to remind everybody about something, and I haven't got an answer on this yet. If you have one of those AR pistols, let me ask you something. What kind of upper support rest bolt do you have to screw to that buffer tube? Because everybody remembers there's an anti-compression hole in the middle of the bolt that's supposed to be there. Everybody remember that? How many of you remember that? If you have an AR-15, you do know that the upper bolt, which, by the way, the channel for that is completely through your buffer tube. It serves a purpose. In the event there is moisture or, anything there, in fact, even air, to prevent any retarding or again, reverse compression or resistance, the bolt that holds your buttstock in place to the buffer tube, if you look, in fact, you'll probably be curious and do this right after the program. If you go look, it should have a hole in the middle of it. Now, I've always wondered about that with these pistols because I don't know if they thought it through they should have. I'm not saying they're stupid or anything, but I'm curious because that's one of those little items that you really, 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 really want to have. And I'll tell you why. If you've ever done any water obstacle clearing, The purpose behind that also is to help break the vacuum with any moisture that gets into the buffer tube, which will cause a problem if you didn't clear it. So what they did, because, well, remember they were going to Vietnam, right? The land of, 3 months worth of monsoon, right? Constant moisture. They actually figured this out very early on, and it was part of the, again, one of the things that the engineers already foresaw. And the reasoning behind this is that since they're infantry, they're going to be in moisture, they're going to do river crossings, they may fall in the water with an amphibious landing. The objective here was to prevent any failure to functions with the weapon. And so by breaking that vacuum and also, again, allowing for a place for energy to go, which, by the way, I always wondered, is that like a little microjet? You probably get wet. Does it even do anything that's felt? I've used ARs and slash M16s in extreme cold and extreme wet weather. I don't really recall it ever being the case, but you would think that if there is moisture in there, it's only one place for it to go, out that stupid little hole. So it works like a fire nozzle. Anyway, just something I'm curious about. Take a look at your little AR pistol. Does it have the right bolt in place? It should. I would think these guys are smart enough they'd be maintaining that standard. But then again, sometimes people make boo-boos. If it doesn't have that screw, it should. So another little thing that was already, again, added to the AR-15's inventory of make things work right, that little port that goes right through the middle of the screw that attaches your buttstock to the buffer tube, which holds it to the weapon, not the buffer tube, it holds the buttstock to the weapon. Check to make sure that that has a channel. And by the way, that little channel is just a hole right in the middle, even though there is a standard minus type screwdriver slot, okay? The hole is right in the middle of that. Now, another thing about that, this is why you want pipe cleaners in your kit for your cleaning and maintenance of your weapon. Pipe cleaners used to be the standard. I don't know how many people have been taught about that, but remember, that what's nice is the little bristles, especially in little stupid areas like that channel that you can get to. There's some things you weren't supposed to take apart in the field on the AR-15 because of those little stupid plungers and springs. But the buttstock, okay, as far as that bolt point, you don't have to take it off to do maintenance, but you do need something that's going to clean out and brush that out. And pipe cleaners are perfect for that mission. So invest in some pipe cleaners if you're going to carry the AR, and remember that's one of the many little points on the rifle that if you just do regular maintenance, not going to have any oxidation, it's going to do what it's supposed to do. You're not going to have any surprises down the road. Okay, it's that simple. Another thing here real quick, there are a number of different pouches out there for carrying your cleaning kits that are cheap. Allegheny Surplus has some of the original Vietnam era brand new in the pouch. Basically, I think it's like $1 a piece. You buy 5. I don't know if you need 5, but if you got friends, everybody get together, buy 5, divvy them up. It's nice to have the proper tool to put the cleaning kit in, especially your cleaning rods and everything, if you're going to be carrying them on your gear. Now, that's one of those items that there's always been a debate about, put it on your combat gear or put it on your house load. We typically put it on the house load. If you survive everything and you get to the point where you're actually able to stop and do some basic weapons maintenance, you're probably going to be there with either you're carrying the backpack and then it's attached to it, or you're back at your base of operations. That's probably what you were defending, but you go back to your personal area, pull out your cleaning kit, do quick maintenance on the gun, basic swiping. That's all you're going to have time to do because you're waiting for the next attack or a counterattack. But if you actually have any protracted, downtime, first rule is do maintenance on the weapon. And yourself, of course. Check all your mags, make sure everything's replaced, make sure that all your pyrotechnics and grenades are where they need to be. If you don't have them, go pull them off the warm, dead corpses of the enemy you just made, and get ready for battle, and then obviously start doing some quick cleanup on your weapon. You can disassemble the AR without fully disassembling it. Remember, just the back pin, let it pivot, pull out the bolt carrier, wipe it down, clean out and finger clean any of the areas you can from up below on the bottom end of the upper receiver. Also do a quick brush inside the mag well, and you can run a rag through there. And in addition to that, a toothbrush, always handy and should always be around. Everybody likes to look cool like they've been in Vietnam, man. Like in the reenactment groups, got to have that toothbrush. It wasn't necessarily for your teeth, although it was supposed to be. They made a bunch of them just for one purpose. You know, remember the big brush, little brush for your rifle. Same is true with regard to your oil and lubricant. You might notice that a lot of the guys on the helmets, dude, you got to look cool like you were in Vietnam, like, you know, look like it was Vietnam. So you do all these things that you saw that kept the stuff up out of the mud, put it where it was handy. So again, toothbrush should be handy also, along with those pipe cleaners. Make sure you got them in the kit. Watch for the family getting rid of the old toothbrushes. Don't throw away your old toothbrushes. Those are maintenance brushes. And by the way, the toothbrush abrasive material is actually good for helping to clean out the gun. So whatever's left in that toothbrush, don't worry. It's going to be good. It's going to be good for something. We're at the top. The fiddle fart nonsense with regard to the fake election continues, and we're going to hear more and more noise on that. Finally, the enemy is going to focus, and they're going to attack. It's not an if, it's just a when. We'll see what happens when they start frothing at the mouth. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we're on the march both day and night.
Hoorah. Kick them the slats, beat them down hard. When they try to get back up, we'll beat them down again. Remember, those warm corpses are easier to get the uniforms off. That cold, dead hand stuff doesn't work for me. I want to get out there, bend everything off real quick, throw them in the wheelbarrow, take them over to the carp pond or over to the catfish pond and heave them in, because the catfish got to eat too. We're going to get out of here for now. Ed taking over. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.